Imagine your phone rings at night. You glance at the screen and your heart skips a beat when you see it's an unknown number. Your curiosity battles with instinctive dread. You hesitate. What if answering this call would be the last thing you ever did? Tonight, we'll explore 3 deeply unsettling true stories about people who received terrifying phone calls moments before their disappearances. Turn off the lights, lock your doors, and whatever you do, don't answer the phone. Jessica lived a peaceful life in a small suburban neighborhood outside Seattle. She worked at a local bookstore, enjoyed quiet evenings at home, and led a simple, ordinary life. But her peace shattered one rainy night when her phone lit up, displaying an unknown number. She ignored it, assuming it was spam. But the calls persisted, night after night, always after midnight. Jessica became increasingly frustrated and uneasy. After weeks of sleepless nights, Jessica finally answered, her voice shaking. "Who is this?" At first, silence. Then, heavy breathing emerged, raspy and unsettling rhythmic. Jessica's heart raced. She demanded again, "Who is this?" After a pause, the breathing shifted into whispers, low, inaudible words. Jessica strained to hear clearly, her skin prickling with anxiety. Soon, she recognized her own address whispered repeatedly. Terrified, Jessica hung up immediately. She blocked the number, but the next night, the calls resumed from different numbers. Each voicemail was the same, faint breathing, whispers, and an increasingly clear repetition of her address. Jessica reported these calls to the police, but they dismissed her as paranoid. Jessica began seeing shadows moving outside her windows at night. One evening, she found her front door slightly open, though she was certain she had locked it. She installed extra locks, security cameras, and even considered moving. But before she could, one night Jessica called her best friend, panicked. She described vividly someone standing directly outside her window, motionless, face hidden by darkness. Her friend urged her to call the police again, but Jessica's voice was cut off mid-sentence, replaced by static and silence. The next day, Jessica's friends found her apartment door wide open, furniture violently overturned, and muddy footprints leading to the back door. Jessica's phone lay blinking with yet another missed call from an unknown number. Police discovered unsettling security footage of a shadowy figure lurking around Jessica's home, always managing to evade clear identification. Jessica was never found, and the unknown caller's identity remains an eerie mystery. Ryan loved the peace of hiking alone, often disappearing for days into the vast Appalachian wilderness to escape everyday life. It was on one of these solitary hikes that everything changed. He had been hiking deep into a dense, unfamiliar area when his phone suddenly vibrated. Glancing at the screen, Ryan froze. It was his own number calling. Confused, he answered hesitantly, "Hello?" At first, only static crackled through. Then suddenly, his own voice pierced the silence, screaming, desperate and terrified. Ryan's blood ran cold as he realized the screams were not a recording or imitation. They were sounded raw, authentic, and horrifyingly real. Panicked, he hung up, heart racing and breath shallow. Determined to dismiss it as a prank or a glitch, Ryan attempted to continue the hike. But moments later, his phone vibrated again, this time displaying a text message containing precise GPS coordinates and the simple haunting phrase, "Find me." Despite his better judgment, an overwhelming compulsion drove Ryan towards the coordinates. As he approached the location, the forest grew disturbingly silent. Birds stopped chirping, insects ceased their humming, and the unusually comforting sound of nature vanished completely. Ryan felt heavy, oppressive atmosphere surrounding him, like eyes watching his every move. With every step closer, Ryan's dread deepened. He noticed strange, crude markings on trees, symbols that seemed to grow increasingly menacing as he advanced. His phone buzzed again. Another message. "You're almost here." Ryan texted his friends in panic, describing the situation and the unnatural stillness. They urged him to turn back around, sensing danger, but Ryan felt paralyzed. His curiosity twisted into a sinister compulsion. He pressed forward, unable to stop himself, drawn like a moth to a flame. Finally arriving at the coordinates, he found a small clearing with a single, dead tree at the center. His heart pounding, Ryan approached cautiously. Carved deeply into the tree was his own name. Beneath it, crudely etched words read, "Too late." His phone buzzed violently again, and when he checked, another call from his own number. Trembling, he answered. This time, no screams, just a whisper so close it felt as if someone was breathing in his ear. "Welcome." Ryan's friends never heard from him again. Search parties scoured the area, finding only his neatly placed backpack and smashed phone. The unsent final message on his phone read, "It's here with me now." Ryan vanished without a trace, and the mystery of the disturbing call from the woods remains unsolved to this day. In a quiet, picturesque English village tucked away from modern civilization, residents lived peaceful lives until a strange phenomenon disrupted their tranquility. It began precisely at 3:03 a.m. each night when the first calls came through. Villagers received unsettling, anonymous calls, always at the same exact time, the ringtone piercing the heavy silence of the night. Each call was chillingly identical, a faint, ghostly whisper echoing down the line. The voices spoke softly yet intensely, recounting personal secrets the villagers had never told anyone, deep-seated fears and haunting memories they had desperately tried to forget. Many dismissed these whispers as cruel pranks or tricks of the imagination at first, choosing denial over acknowledging the terror creeping into their community. The first to openly speak of these calls was Emily, an elderly woman who lived alone on the edge of the village. Emily confided nervously into her neighbours that the whispers knew things about her, intimate, unsettling truths no stranger could possibly know. She begged her friends to believe her, but most thought her mind was failing due to old age. Days after she raised the alarm, neighbours noticed her curtains drawn tightly, the lights off. When they investigated her cottage, they found it deserted, everything eerily undisturbed, her bed neatly made, her tea still warm, only her phone lay off the hook, emitting a quiet static hum. Next was Andrew, a proud skeptic who mocked Emily's fears publicly. During a gathering at the village pub, he boldly answered his ringing phone at exactly 3:03 a.m, determined to prove the caller harmless. However, as he held the receiver, his smug grin vanished. His friends watched helplessly as the blood drained from his face, his hands shaking violently. He hung up abruptly and stumbled home without explanation. 2 days later, Andrew was gone, leaving behind only an empty house and a dangling phone receiver swaying softly as if someone had abruptly left mid-conversation. As more villagers began receiving calls, terror swiftly replaced curiosity. Families feared the ringing of their phones, some disconnecting them entirely. But it was futile. The whispers began to invade their dreams, tormenting them with images of past regrets and future horrors. Villagers reported seeing shadowy figures lurking outside their windows at night, standing silently, waiting patiently. The community rapidly unravelled as paranoia and dread took hold, fracturing the once close-knit village. Desperate, local authorities traced the cause to an abandoned manor at the village outskirts, a crumbling building obscured by dense woodlands, forgotten by time. Curiously entering the mansion, they discovered a chilling sight, rooms filled with old rotary phones, their wires frayed and disconnected, yet ringing in eerie unison, creating an unsettling symphony of whispers. Ascending the manor's creaky stairs, investigators stumbled upon a disturbing revelation. The walls of upstairs hall were marked with countless names, each written in dark, dried stains. Upon closer inspection, they realized these names matched the villagers who had mysteriously disappeared. Below these ominous inscriptions, freshly painted in crimson letters, was an unnerving question. They answered the call. Will you? The villagers abandoned their homes, leaving behind empty streets and forgotten memories. The village today remains deserted, a ghost town frozen in fear, where it's said that if you listen carefully at precisely 3:03 AM, faint whispers still drift through the empty buildings, forever echoing the chilling mystery of the whispering line. Next time your phone rings and the screen lights up with an unknown number, think twice before you answer. Behind the seamlessly harmless call might lurk secrets best left undiscovered, whispers meant to remain unheard, and dangers you cannot comprehend. Have you ever received a mysterious call that chilled you to the bone? Share your story below, but beware, some doors, once open, can never truly be closed. If you enjoyed these stories, show some love and subscribe, and I'll be catching you tomorrow.